Oh boy, this game could there's a lot of things to improve here. So these reviews, I'm glad you liked them. So, Aztecs against Britons. Should be a really good matchup for Aztecs. And what you should focus on is, in Feudal Age, is probably to go Eagle and Skirmisher. And just keep building up on that the whole game. I would say mostly focus on Eagles in Cast Age though against the Britons. And then just push. Britons can switch into long swords, and if they do, monks will be really good. You don't really want to attack longswords yourself because they get countered by crossbow from Britons. Map wise, I would say this is really open map. Like wall could be made with houses in the long term in the front, but there's hills there, so crossbow standing on the hills hitting gold and stuff. If you're defensive, it's not good. Wood lines are quite bad because if you're against Britons, you kind of want back wood lines, but there's nothing in the back. There's this one really far away. And lumber camp should always be built in the little hole here. So we see the build order now, 6 on sheep. If there's anything you can improve from here. How much is the coaching? It's $25 for a replay review. You can message me about it if you want. I'm doing it like once a week or twice a week. If there's any interest, of course. Alright, my man, that sounds cool, man. You can just, if you're interested, just DM me on Discord. Early April, okay. I'll do whatever game. Mostly Arabia is the most fun for me to watch and review. But any map is fine for me. Even Arena, believe it or not. Opponent has a 4 gold. This could be really punished. This one too. And this one is kind of in the open as well. So it's quite easy to punish these golds. I think we can switch into capture age though, so we get the better overview. And then I have to switch my scene as well, so it doesn't go in the way of the overlay. For it's nothing. Yeah, so the game's gotta be 50 minutes max. And if they're above 50 minutes, I fast forward. That's also, I can't be coaching for 3 hours one game, you know. That's too much. Alright, Jonah almost about to get housed on 15 pop. He's learning from me, it seems. So this is a bit strange. I don't even know what happened, but there's 2 villagers chasing a scout. 2 villagers building a house. So 4 villagers technically idle. At this point in the game, it's a lot. So try to minimize idle time of villagers here. Alright, the builder seems very standard. 4 on wood, which could indicate a drush. If you're not drushing here, I wouldn't recommend 4 on wood, because it slows down your fuelage time. Well, Dragon, you know how it goes, right? Alright. Another thing with the luring elephants, I would always recommend to do the villager in the TC and shoot it, but if you don't, it's fine. Sometimes I don't do it either if I have a lot to do or it's a bit of a mess under TC. Okay, so barracks coming up, most likely for a drush now. I want to check the exploration here. From Blue's point of view. I think, like, all in all, if you've been exploring like the... Wait. It's shift right click, right? Okay. All in all, if you've been exploring like this, I can also comment on the exploration. Do circles, like 2 rounds, and then lure, or 1 round and lure deer. It's a very late to lure deer now, you don't have any idea where your opponent is. And it looks like you're not going for a drush after all. Like now it's too late to drush, so don't drush at this point. Just try to aim for feudalage, cancel some villagers. You have a bit too many villagers in the queue. So just try to focus. Okay, so now we're going for the drush. I would say that the drush is coming in too late. It's already like 8 minutes. The drush should be start being made at maybe around 5 minutes even. So that the drush can hit before your opponent's feudalage. But since this is around 1200 rating, this Drush can potentially do damage. Or maybe even help defend at this point. So you're kind of lucky you see the militia are coming. I would use the eagle to keep track of where he is. And send my militia to go defend this. Oh, that's very unnecessary damage. Because you knew he was coming. You have no loom. And you sent your army to attack. But offense is okay. But now you're gonna have to deal with men at arms. So it requires you to wall in your woodland. You're fighting. You have loom now. So it's okay. This is a good fight before he gets men at arms. I kind of like that you just engage here and send back the weak villager. This one should just send back to the home. Oof, there's a lot of things to talk about here. That's for sure. I don't know in which order I should talk things through here, but overall, the biggest mistake I could see is that you saw the army here. You left with your eagle. You left with your militia. And now you just made a situation horrible for yourself. Instead of just defending here, try to wall up and go up. Also, I'm not a fan of these walls, because you're walling your main gold out, you're walling all your critical resources out, and especially with Aztecs. So, if you want a small wall, you can wall around here, yes, but then it requires you for a tower on the goal at least. So let's see how this game develops. Oh, a bit too fast there. Nice cleanup though of the men at arms. I like that you fight with the Vales. You didn't take that many losses. Actually still ahead in Vales because of him having idle time. He's a 1 minute idle TC, which is huge. And you're up a bit later, so you will have more villagers collecting resources. And yeah, before you farm up, do horse color at this point. Hello, the Iceman. What's up, man? Killing the house, okay. Yeah, so at this point just try to find damage. Don't make sure you don't like engage here, just run around, keep him at his home until you're able to wall up. That's the best thing. Thank you, the Iceman, so much for the sub, man. I appreciate that. A tower on the gold, it's kind of reasonable. Do it in the front. You should have done it in the front because in this case it will cover more area. What yields this? 1200. Force color before farming, very nice, doing the right things, but using a bit too many villagers walling up right now, which is hurting economy a lot. And you're also not able to afford villagers, and you're not able to afford military. So right now I'm not sure what the plan is. Probably just skirmishers and then mine gold into eagles, right? While the opponent has 22 villagers now. He's actually 4 vills behind. 2 minute 35 idle TC. That's a lot. So your opponent's basically killing himself right now. But it's a tower. It's kind of like a pro player could make this tower too. It's not terrible, but it covers less of the area. Doing it in the front here, in the middle of the gold, covers more. And it also reduces the risk of enemy coming forward here, building a tower right here. And taking out their gold, right? So walls are up. No army production yet. The farms have to start kicking in first. But focusing on villager production, that's the most important thing right now anyway. And your opponent is coming with archers, but the walls are there and the tower is there. So everything is safe. And the skirmishers getting queued up. Advice, don't queue up 3 skirmishers at once.
Which one is Jonah?
If you have so little resources in the bank. Fels is Jonah. The guy I'm watching here, blue guy. Thank you, Chapter Burger. So if you have very little resources in the bank, don't queue up a lot of units at once. Because then you might not be able to afford villagers. Right now TC is idle, but you can actually queue up vills. So it's just a bit a multitasking issue right now. Alright. Nice cleanup. You try to dive the TC, but you're chilling here. And you're doing the right thing. You're doing skirms, building up economy. But try to minimize the idle time as much as possible. Don't sit in the TC forever after you kill the army. Like right now, I think 80% of the economy is just idle. There we go, start working again. So still 2 villagers ahead, skirmishers on the field. These two villagers are walking around to chop wood. It's kind of a bug. Or just pathing issues. Double barracks now. I don't agree with that at all. Because right now we don't have resources to even produce from one barrack. So just keep that one barrack working for a little bit. House, I mean, we can't really... If he's housed, he just has to make houses. I mean, I can't really comment that much on that. Like, if I was getting coaching and the coach said, hey, you need to make houses, man. Kind of be annoying. I know! I'm pretty sure he knows that he needs to make houses. It's just a thing to remember or not. So, now your opponent's doing eco upgrades quite late. He's walled. And you're sitting at home with the skirms, which is okay, but after clearing up the first army, I'll probably be a bit more active with the skirms running around the map. And if you see scouts, you just retreat, maybe add a spearman, or just add a spearman to your army in case of scouts. So, man-at-arms supplies against full archers. Jonah, we need to talk. This is crazy. Okay, so in this case, we don't even need to do all these things. We can just skirms, hold near the tower, and your opponent can't really do much. But in honesty, his defense is working pretty well against this. So I can't take him too much for that. We need a blacksmith and we need upgrades. Okay, so he's doing a blacksmith, that's good. And the first upgrade I will do would be fletching and armor. Fletching and armor deal with archers. You don't need to armor for infantry at all. That's fine. So this game takes to the wrong units, I would say. Like, I would never go for longswords against Britons simply because of the crossbows. Just eagle skirms. But he's going crossbow man at arms, which can be a really tricky comp for Aztecs to deal with, of course. No blacksmith upgrades in that case. Focusing on going cast stage faster. That's fine as well. Not doing fletching and armor kind of saved him a lot here. And he will be able to have a nice uptime. So if you really want longswords, then skirm longswords is probably the way to go. The eco's looking fine. The idle time has been way too much though. 3-minute idle time in a game like this, which wasn't really that messy, and your opponent has 640, really shows what the main issue is for the low rated players, and that is not producing villagers. You're basically killing yourself. Okay, let's say you go kill 5 villagers from your opponents, but if you had 3-minute idle TC, those 5 villager kill won't matter if he produced all the time. But since your opponent also killing himself, then it's fine. Alright, so at this point you're going up to cast stage in a second. You should probably cancel the villager to go up. Like, if you're closing in the cast stage, shouldn't be afraid of idling TC. This fight is kind of crazy with no upgrades. Like, if you want to take a big engagement, you need to get upgrades on your units. Because if you're fighting without upgrades, you're not gonna take a good engagement. This engagement is 100% won with fletching and armor. And the TC is idle again, could have clicked up years ago. So, idle TC is a big pro. I think this is like a multitasking issue, which will be better later. But looks like you just forgot to click, honestly. He thinks he's probably up. And he's not, so... He will realize soon that he needs to click up, I assume, because the TC idle time is growing. I've had this issue before where I think I'm up, I'm making a lot of units, and then I realize, oh shit, I'm not up onto cast stage. Queuing 10 archers is also kinda crazy. Like, you don't need to queue this many units at once. Yeah, he must have forgotten. Which is kind of monka. It's very unfortunate. But I think the main issue here, guys, I'm gonna pause, You have a lot of resources in the bank. You're taking a lot of engagements. There's been a lot of fights. But 0 blacksmith upgrades. No armor on the infantry. No fletching. No archer armor. Just one of these would be good. Like fletching would be great for these fights. Getting blacksmith upgrades is sick. And we also have to talk about idle TC time. Idle TC time is a huge problem. And also something I struggle with a lot. It's not something that comes next day after I told you, dude, you have to make idle, you have to work on your idle TC. You won't fix it with one day. You have to play a lot and practice that. You have to prioritize queuing villagers, and one thing that could help, like I said, is to queue less units. For example, you had three skirmishes queued, which is like 100 food. Queue villager instead, one or two, and don't queue many at once, because then you can't afford army. So like the same issue is like the other guy, coach. He queues up too many units, but try to queue one at a time. One villager, one archer, and when the villager created, one villager right away. Maybe 2 or 3 in the queue could be fine. And when you boom, you can have more queued, because then you will be pumping. That's important to remember. What's a good way to teach yourself to always queue villagers? It's a very good question. Because I don't really know. I don't remember what I did to fix idle TC problems. But I think you should just try to prioritize it. Like number 1, prioritization, right? Keep your villagers TC working as number 1 prior over everything else. Grinding awareness, yeah. Queue whenever you hear the sound, but sometimes you're just so focused you can't hear the sounds. You know when pilots of a plane are so stressed and there's like a lot of things going on, like in an emergency, and there's a lot of alarms sounding, the pilots cannot hear the alarms because they have so much workload, right? And I think it's the same thing in AoE. There's no way you can focus on listening to the villager sound being created. Hold on, okay, wait a minute. So decision making is also next one here. We queued, we made three arch ranges against Britons, which is not necessary. We need to focus on doing counter units, which should be eagles in this case, and a few monks in cast stage. 3 ranges and panic tower, and your opponent is not even here. So there's no need to, like, I think you're making a bit too, like, you're wasting a bit too much. Like, you don't need to make this tower with 10 villagers or 9, because you will lose so much resources. 3 ranges will make you have no wood. Fair enough that you can queue off these guys and spread them out in your arch ranges, that's fine, but there's also 4 villagers working here. Your opponent has a pretty clean eco in comparison right now, so this is a big problem. But yeah. At least blacksmith upgrades are coming in now. Right now, where your opponent has tech advantage, you don't want to fight. This tower, by the way, should have been placed on your woodline. You don't want to place your tower away from the woodline, because your opponent has more range, right? So you want to place it here, that can actually range your opponent's archers if he stands behind the woodline. So now if your opponent wanted to idle your whole woodline, he could just stand here and your tower cannot reach. He can stand right here. So you want to build it close to the woodline. 3 archeries for skirms. I don't think skirms is the way right now. Like, his eco isn't made for skirms. I think he wants to go for crossbow. But another thing that you're doing wrong, that the other guy did wrong, that I reviewed earlier, just doing too many things at once. There's squires, there's crossbowmen, there's forging, there's bodkin, like doing so much that's gonna be hard to keep up with what you're doing. And it's also hard for your economy to keep up. But now we got long swords, we got crossbow. So this is a pretty scary composition, and once you have all the blacksmith upgrades, think it's decent to take a fight, but don't fight before upgrades. And oh, can you do it? There's no way. Okay, so your opponent's focusing now. He's focusing on the right things. You have armor on these guys. They're actually winning. What? What? You won the fight? How? He has a what? He must have slipped a micro though. But now, this is gonna snowball. Now you're taking a really good fight here. You're in on the goals. Now you just keep flooding units. Like now, you need to keep pumping your units forward, but you keep pumping your units backwards. If you're pushing, don't play defensive with your units. Put your gather point forward and keep attacking. The blue is winning by accident. And at this point, I would just keep going all in, right? Your eco is set up for all in. You have a tower. Just spread, like, put a mining camp maybe on the other gold. Let's see if you scouted that gold. I think you did. You have a gold here, so I would just send some villagers to this gold. When your gold is like full, you need to start spreading out to the other golds. And maybe replace the lumber camp eventually. Now we sent the army forward. Brilliant. Very good, good thing that you did that. And taking down the siege up, which is huge. You could, in theory, keep attacking, because now you're, while killing the siege up, you're giving your opponent a chance to rebuild an army. Which is nice that you send the crossbows now, and let these guys do the siege up. Very good decision. I like that. That's very smart. Because there's no need for the crossbows to be under the siege up. They don't do that much damage to the building. So instead he went to attack the gold, which is very good. Houses. That's good. And he just sticks to 1 TC, that's nice. Could be a bit confusing with my commentary when I say he and I mix between he and you and stuff like that, but we're talking about Jonah here, the Fells 04. 1200 rating here, and he's eating his economy. So now this game is going very well, and Town Bell is being rung here, and your opponent has 3-4 goals, taking away all his goals. Town Bell. Yeah, now we're just flooding. Now I liked what he's doing, right? He's putting his gather point forward. He's flooding a lot of units. And his opponent is just overwhelmed. He has no resources in the bank. He can make 3 crossbows maybe. Not even that, because he has no wood. So, to prevent this from happening, crossbows dying to TCs, especially when you have this much control and the game is kind of in one area, you're not focused at home or anything, then put them on stand ground, right? Put them on stand ground so that they don't run into TC like this. Let's see if you did that. We're attacking a farm. I'm not sure if they're on stand ground. No, they're not on stand ground. They need to be on stand ground so they don't run into TCs like that when you're... Because if you put them on stand ground here, and the other units are running around, then you can focus on making good economy at home. Instead of always watching your crossbows. But look at this, they're not on stand grounds, they're just going straight into TCs. You could take the TC with longswords, yes he can, because he has +2 armor. And his opponent is just getting wrecked at the moment. I like the forward siege up too, just to seal the deal, you know. That's a good decision. But while you have control like this, you have to start like doing something with your economy. Like start expanding your economy, start taking the relics, just to control the game even more. This is kind of weird though, like wasting a bit too much here. The opponent has 0 wood, but you need to pay attention. Okay, there we go. This is nice. Cleaning up all the villagers. I can send all these guys and maybe a ram to finish off his opponent. realizes he can't do it anymore. He calls it. But oh boy, this game could... there's a lot of things to improve here. Biggest thing I would say is the idle TC time. 9-minute idle TC on a 1 TC push. And especially when 6 of those minutes were early game. It's really, really rough. Let's say it takes 25 seconds to make a villager. I mean, this is like 10 villagers lost, more, right? 9 minutes way more, but early game 6 minutes was like over 10 villagers lost. Just for that. And the other guy had a lot of idle TC as well. So the biggest thing is idle TC, right? It would be cool if you open notes and write a small list of the things. Yeah, so what my other guy did, the other guy I coached, he wrote down what I said, right? I gave him things to work on after the game, and he just wrote it down. You want me to write it down? Fucking hell, man. I like to say it, and then I think that's better. But I can also write it down. If he wishes to, like, let's say if you wish me to write your things down, I will do it. And if Jonah asks me, hey, can you write down what things I need to work on, I'll do it after. But not during. So yeah, first of all, it was the idle TC. And then it was the Civ matchup. If you're playing the Civ matchup, you have to go into counter units of what the other Civ is doing. Starting off with Militia is perfectly fine. Because most likely, if you're Aztecs, the other opponent will do Men-at-Arms against you. So I think Men-at-Arms is fine. Or you go fast range and try to counter that. In this case, going for Militia. You saw his Militia here. Then, if he's Feudalage as well, then don't go away. Just stand home and defend that. You can defend his Militia with your Militia. And you will be much, much better off. And then we went for longswords, supplies, and crossbows, which is not what you should do against Britons. Because how does Britain counter that, guys? They counter it with only crossbows. Your opponent didn't even have to go for longswords himself. If he only went for crossbows, your longswords and your crossbow would die. Because he has better crossbows. So you have to go for counter units, which will be skirmishes with crossbow and eagles to push. And if your opponent is going longsword crossbow, it's very costly, which means you should be up to cast stage before, and therefore put a little bit of advantage, and also have monks being made in the back. On the way to the cast stage, he made 3 ranges, which was not necessary. Aztecs make units faster. Also gotta read your civ there a bit. Aztec makes units faster, which means producing from 3 ranges with this economy is almost impossible. You can do exact same thing, only with 2 ranges. And also you added the second barracks way too early. Instead focus on building up your farms first. That would be way better. But other than that, yeah, also I would say taking the fights without blacksmith upgrades is a no-no. You need to take the fights when you're sure that you will win the fight. You have to click on your opponent's archers or army and check what upgrades he has, check what upgrades you have, and then decide to fight or not. Other than that, this tower should have been close to the woodline so it covers more area. This tower should have been a bit further ahead so it covers more area. Try to make your buildings a bit more efficient. And also you spent way too many villagers on walling, which hurt your economy too much. Also the deer luring was at minute 8, which is too late. You only got 1 deer in before he came attacking. The deer lure needs to happen very, very fast. And then some exploration if you can. If you scout the deer late, then take 1 and go explore opponent. I would recommend that. Once you are pushing, you're starting to have control. You need to spread out to other resources. You see how crowded this gold is right here? You have so much time to just put a mining camp here. And also maybe a new lumber camp. And also maybe a mining camp here or a monastery. And start collecting relics on the sides while your opponent is busy. Because if you weren't pushing this hard, your opponent was holding off a little bit. And you didn't expand and you didn't take relics. Well, then your push is kind of for nothing, and you might be pushed back and lose. So that's also very, very important to remember. Try to benefit on your lead here. All right. I think that's it. Otherwise, it was a pretty nice thing to go forwards here. And even though I didn't like the composition, it did work. And in this match, it was kind of nice. Remember stand ground on the archers. Super important. Yeah, we're doing $25 for a recorded game review. I don't do live coaching, but I mean, in the future, who knows? But I like the recorded game review because I like that people can send in the game that they want or feel like they could improve on, you know? And then we take some notes from that. Because if live coaching, I feel like it's more like live backseating. And I think it's really, really tough to try to learn anything from that. Because if you want to have live coaching, in my opinion, you would have to play for like 4 or 5 minutes and then pause and talk about it, you know, why did you do this and what could you have done better? But if you just play all the time, talk all the time, you won't really learn anything from it. At least from a teacher point of view. It's gonna be too messy. Do team games as well. I mean, like, if you want to learn from a team game, I could do that. Are you coaching more today? No, this was my last. This was my only one. And if you're interested in the coaching, it's like I said, 25, and just message me on Discord. You also see the information in the Discord channel where it says rec reviews. So if you're interested, just hit me up. I'm doing this once or twice a week, so hit me up if there's anything. All right. GG to Jonah though. He's a grinder, so he should keep on grinding. And hopefully he will learn something from this. Maybe switch up with the saves as well a bit. As it's very hard for 1200. Very, very difficult save, very tricky one. Okay, I'm gonna take off now, guys. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Been 5 hours today. Streamed like 20 minutes earlier too. So yeah, it was a pleasure. Have a nice evening, everybody, and good night. Bye bye.